the residential development at the Westside reclamation site exclusively for affordable housing. Unite considering approaching government and other employers to help find jobs for former NatWest employees. Government considering legislation to improve the notification for victims about developments in their cases. A Spanish national pleads guilty to burglary at a home in Catalan Bay. And the Department of Immigration and Home Affairs closed because of flooding at Leanne's Place. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The residential development at the future Westside reclamation site will consist exclusively of affordable housing. The government says it's expected to deliver 2,300 homes and that this will include pensioner accommodation. The initial demolition works in the area are set to begin later this week.
The reclamation project in front of Westview Park was greenlit by the Development and Planning Commission in May. It will create roughly 47,000 square metres of land. Number 6 says there will be no open market or private residential element, and no part of the residential development will be sold at commercial prices. It says the homes will be delivered under government affordable housing schemes, as with the estates created by earlier reclamation projects in the area. The government says, as was set out at the time of the original announcement, the reclamation has been designed to preserve the area of the Gassa bathing pavilions. It says the existing children's park will be relocated for the duration of the construction works and will be expanded as part of the final development. The creation of the land itself is expected to take around 18 months, and the government says it will make further announcements on the plans, allocation of houses and timelines in due course. Government Minister Gemma Arias Vázquez said, "We will build in phases so that homes can be handed over as early as possible, and the dedicated pensioner accommodation will release larger rental properties for families who've waited too long for the space they need." The Chief Minister, Fabian Pigardo, said Gibraltar has always grown by creating the land its people need, and every generation of Gibraltarians who's benefited from an affordable home on reclaimed land has done so because a previous generation was willing to build.
Unite the Union is considering approaching government and other employers to help find local jobs for the 32 NatWest international employees currently facing redundancy. The bank is offering them redeployment opportunities, but all of those positions are currently available in the UK only. Unite's Donovan Correa told our reporter Kevin Ruiz that many of the affected staff want to stay in Gibraltar and that he believes their skills could be of use to others' employers locally.
Well, the union, obviously, we have connections around Gibraltar. We can speak to ministers. We have private sector employers who might want to manage the staff that have lost their jobs. They have quite good skill sets that will be lost. I think that's a shame if that ever gets lost. So there's good opportunities for any banking or similar employer to take these members on.
The banking sector, of course, a very important sector for Gibraltar, for the development of our economy, especially now in a post-treaty environment. Have you perhaps engaged with the government on this?
Not yet, but we are thinking that is one of our options. I think it's important because we are seeing that given the fact that Gibraltar, or at least in the budget, the Chief Minister was commenting about the unemployment rates, this is going to be quite a big hit on the employment rate of Gibraltar. If these 32 individuals do not choose to be redeployed in the UK, we will add 32 unemployed individuals to that list. I think it's important that we work together for the better of these individuals, but Gibraltar as a whole in terms of the unemployment rate. We want to keep it as low as possible, and I think it's in the interest of the union and the government to do so.
And our conversations with NatWest International still open. The redeployments will be within the UK. That's the option the staff has been given. Any chance that this situation might change, perhaps?
There always is a possibility because these are live situations. We never know if options will come out in Gibraltar. We have spoken to our members and they have indicated that if these options come out, they would consider them they would consider them quite seriously because they do want to stay. At least that's from the initial conversations I've had. So the door is always open, and we hope that these options are provided at some point. But as it stands, it's not on the table.
Justice Minister Nigel Feetham is considering legislation to strengthen and formalise the arrangements for notifying victims about developments in their cases. The new legislation would strengthen the arrangements already in place and ensure that victim notification is consistent, reliable and properly embedded in the criminal justice system.
The existing law already gives victims rights to receive information about criminal proceedings. The proposed legislation would build on these by establishing a clearer and more comprehensive statutory framework governing how victim notification operates in practice. It would cover key developments in a case, including hearings, decisions, judgments, appeals, and matters relating to the custody or release of an offender. It also aims to establish clearer responsibilities across the criminal justice system, including requirements for relevant agencies to provide information to the Commissioner of Police for the operation of a victim notification scheme. The proposed scheme would introduce clearer timeframes, record keeping, safeguards for personal information, and a complaints and correction process where notifications are missed, delayed, or inaccurate. The objective is for victims to have confidence that they will receive timely and relevant information about their case without having to navigate the criminal justice system themselves. Meanwhile, the Royal Gibraltar Police says it has a procedure in place where the officer in charge of sexual abuse cases will make contact with the victims to offer advice and support when there is an appeal or a court date connected to an appeal. In answer to GBC questions, the Royal Gibraltar Police has confirmed the officer in charge of a case will explain the purpose of the hearing and the possible outcomes. It adds this is intended to ensure victims understand the nature of the proceedings and any potential implications for the conviction or sentence. The officer in charge of the case remains a point of contact for the victims and will provide information and assistance as appropriate throughout the appeal process. The RGP adds that when it's notified of the outcome of a hearing, the officer will communicate that to the victims concerned and, where appropriate, explain what the next stage of the process will be. It says that in the case of Graham Southwell, found guilty of 19 child sex offences, victims were notified of his recent permission hearing and the forthcoming appeal proceedings as soon as information became available to the RGP.
A Spanish national has pleaded guilty to burglary at a home in Catalan Bay. He also pleaded guilty to one count of assault occasioning actual body harm.
Francisco Javier Almagro Torres was arrested earlier this month after he entered a building in Catalan Bay as a trespasser with intent to steal. At his first appearance last week, the court heard that when the police arrived at the scene and searched him, he was found in possession of screwdrivers, pliers, wire cutters and gloves. Stipendiary Magistrate Charles Bonfante ordered a pre-sentence report and said that all sentencing options are available. The 42-year-old will remain in custody until his next appearance on the 8th of September.
The Department of Immigration and Home Affairs has been closed today due to flooding at Leanne's Place. Power to part of the building had to be disconnected, with electricity back on now and the office resuming business tomorrow. This is the second time this year the department has had to close for this same reason. The Association of Spanish Workers in Gibraltar, ASCTEG, is seeking a compensatory payment for frontier workers who lose their jobs in Gibraltar. The association says the new unemployment arrangements leave workers living in Spain with less financial support during the first 3 months.
ASTEG says that under the new treaty arrangements, affected frontier workers must first claim an employment benefit through Gibraltar before they can access any remaining entitlement in Spain. The association has met with Spain's Public Employment Service, the SEPE, and the unions Comisiones Obreras and UGT to discuss a possible payment to make up the difference. At this time, no agreement has been reached, but ASTEG says that a working group is due to be set up after the summer to look at this and other issues affecting frontier workers. ASTEG says existing Spanish benefits are among the options being considered.
You're watching GBC News. It's a fun summer. The first names on the second stage at the Gibraltar Music Festival are announced, and we look ahead to the fair, which is now just a few days away. Back in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. The first names for Stage 2 at the Gibraltar Music Festival have been announced. In addition to the headliners performing in the Europa Sports Arena, a second stage will be set up outside Hardings Battery for local musicians.
In addition to the big names like Rosario, Billy Ocean and James Morrison, who'll be performing indoors at the Europa Sports Arena, we now know the setup and some of the names for the second stage of this year's returning GMF Summer Sessions. Thursday we'll see a MAG stage with artists selected by the Musicians Association of Gibraltar. Friday, it's Made in Gibraltar on stage, with artists curated by Radio Gibraltar. Expect live performances from Zach Samit, Mark Muscat, Surian and Rima, with Rax DJ keeping the music going throughout the day. And then on Saturday, it's an acoustic stage. The second stage will be located outside in Europa Point by Hardings Battery. Organisers say the second stage lineups for Thursday and Saturday will be announced soon. The event takes place between the 3rd and 5th of September at Europa Point.
And the fair gets underway in just a few days. It opens on Friday evening, which marks the start of a very busy few weeks ahead of National Day. The fair returns to the Rook site after last year having a one-edition move to the Victoria Stadium. Local charities, community groups and businesses again taking part. This year's event will also include the sensory adaptations and the family pavilion, alongside the usual rides, food and entertainment that we all know and love. Jodie Ferrar of Cultural Services told Gibraltar Today what visitors can look forward to.
We've started receiving some attractions over the border today, so that's a good sign. I can't actually disclose the full list of attractions because we like to keep that element of surprise. But if you start driving down the Rook, you'll be able to peep in and see some bits and pieces there. So it's all very exciting.
So back at the Rook site, after a one-off edition at Victoria Stadium last year, are there any other changes to the layout that we can expect?
The actual site is the same. We've just had to sort of reposition certain things. So it's basically located in the exact same place where it was 2 years ago and the years prior to that. But yeah, just some random spaces here and there have just been shifted. So
because space is just always an issue.
Space is always an issue.
Because you want to provide so much.
Oh my God, we could do so much more if we had a bigger ground, but we work with what we have and hopefully we can make it another memorable fair for everyone. So
they want to keep some surprises, but I'm imagining a lot of the favourites will be there this year. No, what can people expect?
Yeah, so there's an attraction in particular that didn't come last year that was greatly missed because it's one of those pivotal rides within the fair, and we can confirm that it's coming back this year. So I think the public will be happy to see that one come back. It has something to do with the sea.
Right, okay.
Some relevance to the sea.
Okay. Yeah. Was it the ship? I'm trying to remember what was there last year, what was missing.
I'll give you that one.
Okay.
Ship, yeah.
All right. Okay. Now you mentioned that things are coming through the border at the moment. Have there been any issues? I know there's been some issues at the border with customs since the treaty implementation week. Has anything been different that you've had to kind of tackle this year?
It's just been a different system, and I think it's just been everyone trying to figure out the new procedure. But luckily, we've had a lot of support throughout the new process, so we've managed to tackle it. And today, with a sigh of relief, we can confirm that they've started to come over. So yeah, it's worked out.
Well, a few days left to go. I'm sure you're going to be very busy. Apart from the rides, of course, there's so much more to offer in terms of food, the charities that get involved. I think that's what makes the fair such a wonderful community event, because there's just so much going on from different parts of the community helping. Yeah,
I think the fair has just become such not just a pivotal part of our summer calendar, but it also plays a big role within our national celebrations. This event in particular sort of kickstarts those celebrations. So obviously you've got those local stalls. This year we have 9 local stalls. Mm-hmm. And aside from that, we'll also have some charities on site. And then you'll have the ever so famous Family Pavilion, which will once again be organised by Gib Media. And also, once again, we will have the sensory adaptations, which is very well received every year.
Artists are being invited to submit their works to this year's International Art Exhibition. The exhibition will be held at the Gustavo Bacarisas Gallery from the 21st to the 31st of October.
The competition is open to anyone who will be aged 16 or over by the 20th of October. Each entrant can submit up to 2 paintings and 2 sculptures, with a £10 entry fee per piece. Works must be original and can't have been previously entered in any competition run by the Cultural Services. The first, second and third prizes are £5,000, £2,000 and £1,500 respectively. There are also £1,000 prizes for Best Gibraltar Theme and Best Young Artist. All winning artworks become property of the Ministry of Culture thereafter. Entry forms and conditions are available online on culture.gi, as well as from the John Mackintosh Hall, the Fine Arts Gallery and the Gemma Gallery. Entries can be submitted to the Gustavo Bacarisas Gallery between the 7th and the 9th of October. For more information, you can contact info@culture.gi or call 200 672 36.
This year's tax essay competition attracted more entries than ever as the Association of Tax Advisors continues to promote analysis and original interpretations of tax matters that affect Gibraltar. The winner of this year's overall prize was William Saunders, with the under-25 prize winner Katie Azra Happold. Graham Jackson and John Asopardi of the GATA were on the judging panel and both praised the high quality of submissions to this year's competition. They spoke to Kellyanne Borge on Gibraltar Today.
We're definitely seeing a change in the approach to writing essays. I think people, when we first started, there was quite a lot of descriptive stuff, and just a narrative with no analysis. You know, the classic "Is Gibraltar a tax haven?" essay that everybody's written at some point who works in tax in Gib. That's dropped away now, and we're getting more detailed, fine, granular thinking going on. What the 2 winners that you just read out, transfer pricing and state aid, are not. They're complex issues, right? And they were quality essays, weren't they, John?
Yes. Yeah. And obviously, like the transfer pricing specifically, that's quite a technical sort of area. You wouldn't expect somebody from the street to understand what even we mean when we talk about transfer pricing. But that doesn't mean it's any less important, because obviously, Gibraltar has a vested interest in sort of growing its tax revenues. The tax office have hired extra people or whatever, and transfer pricing is one of the very things that are on the top of the list that they're looking at. So I think it's important. We don't have a history of that, and having somebody come in and sort of give us a bit of their view of how it sort of fits in with what we do, and also how it fits in with the international sort of move to sort of shore up sort of, tax bases and that sort of stuff. It's really good. Yeah,
so it's really good that people are thinking about, instead of just describing the way things work, to think how effective they are. That's what's definitely been a change, hasn't it? Yeah. So Will's essay looked at how effective, and if anybody really cares what transfer pricing is, it's how you work out the price that should be charged between 2 connected parties so you don't fiddle the tax and end up with all the profit in the wrong place. So Will looked at how effective our regime is and didn't do an in-depth comparison, but looked at international standards and had some suggestions for how we can change it. So it's a real live. I mean, the minister was particularly interested in that. A real life policy influence can happen by writing an essay in this competition.
And that's the kind of analysis that you're looking for in your judging.
Yeah.
What about Catherine's? The return of taxation as unlawful state aid, implications of the UK-EU agreement.
So Katie did a really good job, and she's just started her bar course. It's really heartening that somebody who's at that early stage in their career can produce a piece of work like she did. What she essentially did was she highlighted and discussed the effect of the fact that before Brexit, we had state aid, and Michael Yamas has spent quite a lot of his life in the European courts arguing about state aid to do with Gibraltar. When we left the European Union, that rule dropped away, and now we have a new rule, which is embedded in the treaty, the new treaty, which brings it back. And what Katie did was compared and contrasted the new rule with the old rule, how it was effective, whether there would be any enforcement proceedings, what they would look like, and essentially drew some conclusions around the differences between the two regimes.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it brought a bit of PTSD because I did my dissertation on state aid back in 2004.
Yeah, you still chose her as one of the winners.
Yeah. I did not hold it against her, for sure. But it was really interesting to see like how much we moved on, but obviously like the lessons that have been learned and what we have to sort of be cognizant of the fact that she was able to sort of embody that in her sort of submission and do so well.
She's only 21.
It's crazy, yeah.
Great, really talented young woman, I think, was someone to watch for
sure.
the future. Yeah.
And that is all from the news team. Don't forget you can, as always, catch up on our website and across our social media pages. But for now, from us, enjoy your evening. Good night.